name is Fortino, and so I was a student here on campus, an undergraduate student here on campus back in 2007, and when we started to kind of get the momentum going for starting the campus garden here. In 2009, we broke ground with a quarter-acre lot. And then in 2012, we moved to the location where we're currently at in Lot 30, where we started out with 3 acres, and we're now about at 7 acres. And moving from that place, from being an undergraduate student where we didn't have a community garden on campus at that time, there was one before then. But if you can imagine, a big land-grant university school, to not have a community garden where most of the UCs at that point had one established, it seemed like a kind of obvious thing that we should be doing on campus. And so we're, as a group of students, really pushing to make that happen with the support of the rest of the campus. And so I'm just kind of sharing a little bit about that. We did also start as a partnership, and I think it's something I like to kind of share. We started as a partnership with the Salvation Army because they were seeing, this was like 2008, 2009, during the whole economic recession, they were seeing a lot of families come to their food box program, and especially kids, and they wanted a way to kind of get access to fresh produce and vegetables, because they were able to give canned goods but not fresh produce. And so they were like, well, hey, we have a big land-grant university that does research on agriculture. How about we team up with them? So the garden started both looking at environmental sustainability farming practices, but also looking at addressing a need on our campus. Since then, we've moved to recognize that there's actually a need on campus for student food security at 60. And depending on the survey, there's anywhere from 50 to 60% of our student body, our undergraduate student body, are facing some sort of food insecurity, and that's using USDA metrics. And this is actually something that's now that they're starting to study this a little bit better, that's something that they're finding at other UCs and then also nationwide as well. So again, it seems like it can be an obvious fit between land-grant university that does agriculture research and students that are hungry and communities that are hungry as well, to try to kind of make that bridge there. And in that work, it's kind of grown into an initiative that's something that if y'all are here locally, I want to get involved in. There's a group called, a conference, I guess, called Grow Riverside. And so that is really looking at what we can do in our local area. So for those that aren't familiar with Riverside, we have what's called the Green Belt, and it's about 4,000, almost 5,000 acres of agricultural lands that has to stay in agriculture. And traditionally has been citrus farms for the most part, and some nurseries. There's about a fifth of that that's fallow, so you're talking about almost 800 acres that's just fallow, and I think more and more of it's kind of becoming less utilized in that way. So I think there's, again, just an obvious partnership that the university can work with and look at what can take place in the community, and so that initiative Riverside is kind of a piece and a part of that. Another aspect to sustainability and agriculture is also just the fact of connecting students and community to what's taking place out here for them to understand that. So before this, you could be an undergraduate student and not really get involved in agriculture, not understand that we're a land-grant university, that we have 500 acres here on campus, that and all these faculty that are working on agriculture, unless you're working in that particular field, but really trying to make it something that every student that comes to campus understands fundamentally. There's also people in the community too that would come out to the community garden and say, hey, I've lived in Riverside for 20 years and I've never been out here, and I never knew exactly what was going on. I would drive by, but I didn't know what y'all were doing, and so it's a good way to kind of outreach to the community and share that as well. Now, I've stepped into the role of the sustainability officer for the campus. Helping restart that office here on campus, and so just talking a little bit about what we do in terms of policy around that. The UC Office of the President passed a policy back in 2004, 2005 to implement sustainable practices across all 10 campuses. And one of those aspects is around food sustainability. And so their latest policy is looking at converting 20% of food purchases to be going towards local, sustainable, organic sources. And so for our campus, we're about 10 million a year that we spend on food purchasing for the residence halls and retail. So 20% of that is supposed to go toward, or it's starting to shift towards local, organic, and sustainable. I have some, and we're close to that. I think in total we're at 17%, with the residential halls being at 21%, and then our retail being at 12, and this was data from 2018, so we're probably actually a little bit lower than that now that we've kind of leased out most of the hub. The retail numbers are probably a lot lower than that. And we don't really have control now over what takes place there, what's served there. And the other thing that I wanted to kind of mention is that that's kind of looking at promoting organic and sustainable, but what I've been kind of hearing is that there's a lot of different practices that aren't covered within like organic certification. And there's a lot of things also that are kind of left out. So one thing that I've been really interested in kind of seeing is looking at our greenhouse gas inventory of our food purchases. So if we are purchasing $10 million worth of food every year, what are we purchasing? And there are studies out there kind of attributing greenhouse gases to different crops and different foods. And you can actually do kind of an analysis of our entire food budget and see kind of the greenhouse impact of that. I know a good chunk of our budget goes towards meat, and so kind of reducing that in terms of our greenhouse gas impacts, I think would be something to kind of work towards. I know that can be kind of rough, or it's difficult to sell sometimes, but I think having those numbers to be able to look at, well, what are we actually doing on our campus around greenhouse gases, and taking that inventory and kind of working to reduce that, I think would be another approach. Just because I think only going for like organic certification stuff may not actually capture all the benefits that there actually are with different practices there. So like I said, we're working on the policy level now, trying to help support sustainable and organic agriculture in that way. So, all right, thanks.